Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strong Start Sundays. My name is Dr. Rachel Edoho-Eket, and I'm so excited that you are here tonight with us. I have such a special guest, Dr. Beth Huff, with us. She is the wonderful principal of Capital City High School in Missouri. And she also is an amazing keynote speaker, and she is the 2022 NASSP Principal of the Year. So I'm so excited to have her. I have been following Beth's work for a really long time, and I had a chance to meet her in person and listen to her amazing keynote when we were in Maryland together and at the Maryland United Conference. And then I got a chance to see her just recently in Missouri when I did the closing keynote for the Missouri State Conference. So welcome, Dr. Huff. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am doing very well and excited to kind of start the week. I feel like we're doing the pre-week tonight together before we head back after break. So
Yes, and I would love for you to come in. Tell Dr. Huff and I where you are coming from. I see James. I'm so excited to see you, James, from Philadelphia, one of my amazing up-and-coming leaders. Thank you so much for joining in tonight on YouTube. Please let us know where you are coming from. I'm saying tonight, but honestly, people do tune in from all over the world, so maybe it's the morning where you are, but welcome wherever you are tuning in from. Tonight, we're really excited because, first of all, we're welcoming everyone to a new year. We're in the year 2026. The new year always brings that kind of anticipation and that excitement for what's to come. And I know I'm really excited for the school year to start up again tomorrow, but I also know there might be some different feelings that are popping up. How are you feeling, Dr. Huff?
I am excited. I have been out for a while. I had a surgery right before Thanksgiving. And so I came back to school for a couple hours a day before break. And so it's been a season. So I miss our kids. I miss our staff. I'm ready to get back into routine and kick off the year. So as much as it's been nice to slow down a little bit, it's just like it's also helped me to figure out, okay, but how do we ensure that we don't speed up too much as we get back into it too? So it's exciting.
Yes, that is the question. Oh my goodness, that we'll be considering tonight. And I want to welcome some more people. Constance, Sherrod, thank you so much for tuning in tonight from Mississippi. So excited to have you. We have Lauren Kaufman tuning in from Long Island, New York. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We have Jose Ramirez all the way from California and Apple City. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Keep them coming, everyone. Let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. I also want to remind you to get this amazing book, Relational Intelligence, The Key Factor to Exceptional School Leadership. Dr. Johnson and I wrote this book specifically for you, for school leaders, for educators who want to figure out how we can have stronger relationships so that we can keep the wonderful teachers and staff in our buildings, so that we can sustain ourselves as leaders, so that we are coming to school every day energized and feeling great about the work that we're doing, not only just about our work, but also feeling good personally. And I know, Dr. Huff, Beth, you know how important that is to feel like you are successful not only at work, but also at home. That's really important.
Definitely, yes. And we are so blessed to work in my opinion the best job in the world. Like it's such an important job and an amazing job, but it's also about how can we ensure that we have energy left at the end of the day so that we can also come home and be what we are at home. And for me, that's a mom as well. So I want to be able to be a mom and be able to, just be able to recharge and refresh and be able to have those times as well. I'm always better at work when I'm better at home, for sure.
100%. I love that. That's so true. We also have Asfer Khan joining us from Texas, and we have Natasha all the way from Greece. Hello, Natasha. Thank you so much for coming. And we have Julian joining us from Paraguay. Keep it coming, everyone. We're so excited to have you tonight. And we want to jump right into this conversation because we know your time is tight. And we also know many of you are returning to school tomorrow, January the 5th. So I know Beth will be going to bed soon, right? Right after this. So
I still have to cook supper. So supper's still for me here.
That's right. So we want to make sure we make the most of our time together tonight. And we have 3 really good tips to share with you about habits. Here's the thing about habits. Habits are so important because habits really do determine how our lives work. If we have great habits, we're going to have a great life. If we have some poor habits, we're going to have some challenges. And so what we really want to do is talk about how, as leaders and as educators, we can have really strong habits. And we're not talking about some life-changing, huge things, but we are talking about some small changes that make a really big difference. And so one of the themes I want to talk about tonight, and I know Beth is going to have some amazing insights as well, is we are going into 2026 not to be different leaders, but we want to go into 2026 becoming sustainable leaders. And the way that we have that sustainability is by changing our habits. And so that's what we really want to talk about tonight, is what are some of those great habits that we can focus on. So the first habit we want to talk about is making sure that we have daily times to connect with everyone that we serve. You know, in the world of all this technology, in the world of all this busyness, and I'm going to use the word chaos, because sometimes it's chaotic, if we're being honest, in our schools. You know, it's easy to get wrapped up in just moving all the time, hustle and bustle. What are we doing? But we really need to make that time to connect with people. So I'm going to start with Beth. Tell us, Beth, what are some ways that you have really focused on intentionally spending time with the people that you're serving in your building?
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be a little unconventional here and start with, I think the most important thing is taking time to connect with yourself in the morning. Like, so for me, that means I've really gotten into the habit of having a devotional first thing in the morning and meditating first thing in the morning, and really taking time before I get on my phone or before I check to see if there's subs, which it's been a little easier since there haven't been subs, but just how can I take some time in the morning just with myself and my thoughts, and in whatever way, for the listeners that in which you engage, just taking some time with yourself so that you can better pour into others. And so for me at work, that looks like, how do we tomorrow, for example, we are back with kids, and to me, I went in today just to kind of get back in the building a little bit, which was good. And just how can I lead by walking around tomorrow? That's what people need. You know, one of the reasons why I think we get so hectic as educators is our to-do list isn't always developed by ourselves. Like, we don't get to always make our to-do list. We don't know what's walking in the door tomorrow. And I think that's something, especially for new leaders, as you come back at this mid-year break, we have no idea what's happened over these last 2 weeks with our kids. And our staff. And so how can I make sure that tomorrow my number one goal is connecting? How can I just take time walking around, checking in on people, asking them how they're doing? And so again, that's a tool for tomorrow, but that's something that I try to do every day. My day always starts by greeting kids and greeting staff members. So how can I, instead of, I have a lot of colleagues that set meetings right at the beginning of the day, but it's like, how can I switch that to where we have an opportunity to really check in on folks, see how I can best serve them? It's the intentional, non-intentional ways at lunch, walking around, checking in with kids at lunch. And I know that's something that you care a lot about too, but it's just those little interactions that may seem unintentional, I have to make intentional in my practice, or they don't happen.
Yes.
So those are just a few small tips that I have definitely as I'm going into tomorrow, that I want to ensure that I'm doing, not just with our students, but also with our staff. We have a lot of supervision happening this week too. Basketball and wrestling's in full swing. So how can I also do that with our community that comes into our building? How can I take time, even though sometimes at 7:00 at night, our smiles are starting to fade a little bit, but how can I take time to connect with the people that care so much about our kids, that come to cheer them on as well?
Yes, I love that. Constance is sending us some hearts for your contributions. Thank you, Constance. And I agree with you. I love that you started talking about connecting with ourselves first. That's not something that I do all the time. So I love that reminder. Shout out to my colleague. She is an amazing principal, but she also is a yoga teacher. And she invited me on Saturday to do yoga. I have not done yoga since college. And the reason why I had not done it is because I overextended myself and injured myself years ago. And I have stayed away from yoga ever since. But my wonderful colleague and mentor invited me to come to her studio. And it was such a great workout, I have to say. And this morning I woke up, I'm like, I'm going to do yoga again. So I just got on YouTube and found a little video for 10 minutes. And, I really enjoyed that calmness and that peace. So thank you for that reminder, because that's something I think is very helpful. And of course, I agree with everything that you said. Tomorrow morning when I go into the building, I'm going to go in a little bit early and just walk around. That's what I love to do. I love walking around, and whoever comes, whoever I see, we give a hug. How was your break? Same thing with the students. I have to remember that, everyone didn't have a great break. There are some people who are really excited to be back into school, to be back in the routine of school. And then there's other people that don't want to come back to school. And then there's people all in between. So we have to remember that, to be that positive presence for whoever we are managing and working with that particular time. Welcome from Ghana. Wonderful. Good morning, good afternoon. I don't know the time there. I think it's in the evening, but thank you for coming, Samuel. So that is one of our tips, is definitely making that time to connect, not only with other people, but yourself. I love that, starting off the day with ourselves, and then that helps to prepare us. Okay. Another tip we want to talk about is modeling the behaviors that we want our staff and our students to do, right? That's another habit that we can really work on. Now, in the very beginning of the summer, when I started the podcast, I told you that my goal was to eat a lunch and to sit down for 20 minutes every day. I also told you that I started off doing that, but then by October, it wasn't happening anymore. And I was going to try to get back into that rhythm. And so I have my lunch packed and ready for tomorrow to sit down and eat it and enjoy it. And I don't have a lot of meetings planned, as Beth said. I think tomorrow is one of those days where you just kind of come in, you see everyone, you greet everyone, and you just beautifully kind of work on relationships again, because people are out of rhythm and we need time to ease back in. So what are your thoughts, Beth, on that?
I think that's exactly, you've hit some great ones already, is people need to see you. One of the things I typically do is I eat lunch in the cafeteria a lot of times around the kids to normalize eating. I think too, for our young women, sometimes I don't know when it became not okay to eat. And so that's something that I model. A lot of times I actually eat our cafeteria food as well, just to show them that, hey, this is not bad. I have a meal ready to go tomorrow. So I'm excited for that too. I actually cooked today. And I think that's a big part of that. I think too, just modeling, I heard this on Principal Kefele's AP Summit a couple of weeks ago. And one of the guests said to model it and mirror it. And that has been something that stuck with me, is how can I model and mirror the different things that I'm seeing? And really, it seems simple, but it's really just leading, again, like I said earlier, leading by walking around. How can we ensure that we are just taking time to care about our people and show them that we care? And I know that's something that is, I think earlier on in my principalship, you have to be serious all the time, and you can't. And I lost the things that made me a great teacher in my mind, and the things that the kids, would like. I sometimes lost some of that as a principal. And it's like, no, people want to know that you're connecting. How can I take time to ask people how they're doing? And I think that's the thing, is sometimes I get so driven and so focused on whatever situation that's happening, as I forget to, hey, check in on your folks. Just a little small check-in is huge. And make sure that you're checking in on everybody, not just, the same people that are closest to you, but our cooks, our custodians, everyone's an educator in our building. And how can the title might be a little different, but everyone educates in their own way, in their own space. So I think also normalizing healthy habits. I really, I just had surgery, and I really made sure that I modeled what that looked like. And no one thought I could do it, but I stayed home and I really healed, because I knew if I didn't, I wouldn't be good now. And so now I've actually taken that time. I also am not the first person to school every day, and I'm not the last person there. I used to think that I needed to do that, and I'm not anymore. And I used to, I think I had that just embedded in me, that as leaders, we have to do that. And it's, I have a 15-year-old that comes to work with me every day. He's a freshman in my building. And I also have to recognize, I want to model everything I'm doing. I'm modeling to him of what becomes normal. So it's like, he doesn't want to be at school an hour earlier than he has to be either. Then I make him start to not love school. So it's like, how can I also model these? I'm modeling them to our kids at school and our staff at school, but I'm also modeling it here at home. And I don't want my own children to not like my job, because there's times they've had a lot of times over the past years. My youngest son, all he's known is me being a principal. I was a second year principal when I got pregnant with him. So it's just how can I ensure that, and it's not easy, and balance doesn't mean 50-50, but it means really being intentional about looking at our week and figuring out, hey, Wednesday, I don't have anything. So we're going to leave Wednesday at before 5 o'clock or before 4:30 or whatever time. We start late. We start at 8:40. So my day gets started a little bit later.
That's our start time too. Very cool. Yeah, I definitely love everything you said. And everyone knows I'm someone that believes we have to have that balance. So like you said, it may not be always 50-50. There are definitely going to be times during the year that are busier than other times of the year. And that's expected. And we can communicate that with our families. But there are other times when we have those times to leave on time. It's time to go. You all know I pack up my things and I'm out, right? And if there's things on my to-do list, they stay there until the morning, and I work on those as soon as I get back into the building. So we did have some new people joining us. I want to say good evening to Dr. Sonia Matthews. So great to see you coming out of Southern Maryland. And I also saw Chris Kamizi coming out of New Jersey. So good to see you. And thank you all so much for these awesome comments. I have some great things I wanted to lift up from the chat. People are loving that we're normalizing healthy habits. I agree with you, Beth. There was a time I definitely thought I had to be the first one there and the last one to leave, basically because of judgment. I felt that people would judge me if I was not doing those things. But honestly, if you do that consistently, you will run yourself into the ground, and that's not a sustainable way to work. And so I'm of the perspective, I want to come to work every single day. I want to enjoy my job. I want to be able to come in smiling and with gratitude. And I have to have space to do that. I have to have space to enjoy my outside of work time, to be able to enjoy my inside of work time. So I'm just lifting up some of these great points that are, becoming more intentional. James said he has the goal to do a 5-minute check-in with all of his staff members. That's a lot of staff, 102 people. So that's a great goal to do that. And then Lauren Kaufman lifted up your blog this week and talking about how you talked about being present. So, that's so important. And thank you, Lauren, for lifting up that great work. People are ready to read your blog, which is great.
Yay.
Beth, can you share the name of your blog, please?
Sure. Yes, you can find my blog on bethhuff.com. So I made it easy, hopefully, for everyone. So bethhuff.com, and then there's a blog tag right there. And that's something that I've really committed to doing. Also, writing is part of my therapy a little bit. And so it's like, how can I get back? I'm in the middle of a blog series. I just got myself back on it. And this is blog 4. So I'm committed to doing that. Just a process, and to also share. I think one of the things I didn't have as an early principal was just healthy models of what that looked like. And so I feel like part of our job in education is also bringing up the next generation of educators. And if we don't find sustainability in this field, we're not going to have leaders, and we're not going to have educators, because it's like I said, the best job in the world, but we've got to figure out how do we make this sustainable, and how do we, like, I also, and I know you're the same way, I like to have fun. Like I also, I enjoy having fun. That was another tip I was thinking of that goes with both of those is I have a really good friend that we process every day. Like that's one of the things we do is we take time to process through every day. And it's a great check-in. And it's also a great accountability of like, hey, you need to let's think about your goals. These are your goals that you have right now. And, none of your goals are to work more. Like you don't have a goal about that. Like that's not what you're doing. So it's just great to have a strong accountability partner too, that is not necessarily a person in my building or in my space that keeps me accountable for sure.
Agreed. And we also share the same goal as, I think it's really important for leaders, even if you have never written before, or if you haven't really used your voice in that way, we all collectively have so much wisdom to share. And I think that we do a disservice to ourselves and to other leaders when we do not share the knowledge that we have. All of us have something to contribute to the conversation, especially now when times are challenging. And so I encourage you, if you have not written before, if you have not spoken at a conference, if you have not done something to contribute in a way to your district or beyond, start doing that. Make that one of your goals, because the connections matter. I know I have so many amazing people, including Dr. Huff and many others who have just been a part of my journey as I'm continuing to learn and to grow. And I think each of us has something special that someone else can benefit from learning from. And so I just want to encourage you to take that moment to share something new, share something with your colleagues, share something with the world, because I think that helps all of us to really get better and improve. I also want to lift up Curtis. Curtis from Alexandria, Virginia. Thank you so much for joining us. It's awesome to see you as always. And you talked a lot about, Beth, also reflecting. And I think that's a great one into our last habit that we want to lift up. And that is really about making sure that we have a process and a system to reflect and to reset. So one of the things I like to do is to end each week and thinking about what's working, what needs to improve, and what is really draining some of my energy. And you all know I like to do a survey that's anonymous to my staff. And I ask our staff questions like, what's going well? What do I need to improve upon? And is there anything else you want me to know? But it's also good to ask ourselves those questions, because when you think about it, each of our weeks might be totally different. There might be some weeks I've ended and I'm like, ooh, this was a nice one. You know, I accomplished some things. And then there's other weeks I'm like, okay, I got through the week. How? Right? So it's good to think about what's working. What do we want to try for the coming week? And again, it doesn't have to be all professional goals. There may be some personal things that we want to do. Maybe I want to do, for me, I want to add more yoga in. So part of my thing this week is finding some videos on YouTube that I like, that I can save and start doing for 10 minutes a day. So Beth, what are your thoughts on that kind of reflecting piece? Can you expand a little bit more? It looks like you may have a little bit of a delay, but we're going to keep going there until Beth comes back. I see that Constance is putting in the chat that she needs to start the practice of reflecting on what's working well and what didn't work. I think that is really incredible. And I want each of you to put something in the chat that talks about what we can do. Beth is back, so we're going to put her back on.
I just had my computer just exploded, so I don't exactly know what happened, but so that's okay. I'll worry about that later, but thank you.
Yep. Everyone's just putting in the chat what are some things that they are going to be working on and being more intentional with. So get yourself situated. You are totally fine. I'm just going through some of the comments and lifting up some things that people want to start working on and reflecting on. One of the things I'm also thinking about is what is taking up my energy. And earlier in the session, we talked about sometimes things get added onto our calendars that are a little bit out of our control.
Rachel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You're good.
I cannot hear you at all anymore.
Oh, no.
I don't know what happened. I can see you and I heard you as soon as I came in.
Yeah. You want to try to come out one more time and come back on? Come back on. We'll come back. But yeah, so if you can put some things in the chat about what you're working on. But I know for me, just thinking about what is taking up my energy? And I know a lot of the times we sit in meetings and we have a lot going on. And, you know, that's something where we want to really think about, is there something that we can do with our meeting schedule to help support that a little bit better? Are there other people that we can count on or ask to help manage some of those tasks? All those things are important for our own sustainability. So Dr. Matthews was saying to Constance, write all those things down, what worked, reflect, and definitely celebrate those small wins. Thank you so much for including that. I'm going to add Beth back on and let's see, Beth, how we are doing.
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Sorry. Yep. And normally you're doing great. Thank you. Normally, like I would be mortified by this, but that's one thing I'm also learning to do too, is like, hey, things aren't perfect all the time.
Hey.
And you know what? We got this. So
we're rolling with it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I think what you were talking about is like just that reflection at the end, like how do we take time to really reflect? And that's interesting and something I've felt strongly about for a while. Part of our book, Lead Like a Pirate, there's a piece of it that talks about anchor conversations. And so it's really a coaching model that can be done in 2 minutes. It can be done in 20 minutes, just depending upon how much time you have. But the R of anchor is reflection. And it's about how do we take time. Oftentimes as leaders, we always ask for our staff or whoever we're in a coaching conversation with to reflect. How can we reflect on, you know, when the conversation's over, how can we take time to reflect? And so I think that's something that's been meaningful to me. I think that one of the pieces that I'm doing a little differently is I'm really working to reflect daily. That's not something that I used to do. So how can I reflect, again, starting my morning intentionally, but then at the end of the day, how can I really reflect on what do I want to do differently tomorrow so that by the time I get to Friday, I am not so out of like, it's not even, I'm not even out of gas. It's like completely there's no, there's the cup is not overflowing. If there's a hole in the bottom of the cup, how can I ensure that I'm doing more pulse checks throughout? And I think that's for me, what I'm going to do differently this year is how can I ensure that I'm checking quickly? Because again, just coming off of that surgery and just coming back, I didn't realize how exhausted I was until it took 6 weeks for me to really not just recover from surgery, but just recover from the grind of our amazing job and then just life in general. So
Yeah.
again, just quick check-ins, I think is something for me that's going to be good. And agreed, your survey, I used to do a survey every Friday that was what's going great, what support do you need?
Yeah.
And I would look for themes too of what support do you need? Because I used to ask, what can I do differently? And then sometimes I would make my to-do list even bigger. And it's like, okay, wait, if I can see some common themes of what support do you need, that's also a great one for teachers because the kids can answer those questions pretty easily as well.
Yeah, and I love that you talked about students too, because, a lot of times our students are fatigued. And I think we forget about that. Students are not robots either. They get tired just like our teachers and staff do. And so those pulse check-ins with kids are important too. I would say, especially now, those of us who are returning tomorrow, which I think are the majority of people on the call coming back on the 5th, make sure you're checking in with students too, asking them how they're doing, welcoming them back. I'm so glad to see you. Like, that's my favorite thing about coming back is giving students a hug, saying, I missed you. Oh my goodness, it's been 2 weeks. I'm so ready to see your smile again. Children love that of all ages. And I think just having that welcoming environment just makes the difference for kids. It really does. So welcome. I see Muhammad is here. So great to see you. I'm not sure where you're joining us from, but we really appreciate you being here tonight with us. And Jose is just talking about, that mental and emotional load. That's so important. When we are always that source, and again, like you said, there's complex needs. So we have to first take care of ourselves before we can take care of anybody else. And Beth, you know this because you've experienced it, but sometimes our bodies will take a break for us. And
Absolutely.
we really don't want to get to that point. But when we have that opportunity to decompress, it does make a big difference in our ability to come back fresh and refreshed. So I can't believe it. We have just a couple minutes left. I still see some people joining on. Shonda, thank you so much for coming from Richmond, Virginia, from Black Women Educators Leaders, Executive Director. We love seeing you. And thank you again for being here tonight. We really hope you all have been enjoying the conversation. Oh, Mohammed from Gambia. I love it. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming. So as we are wrapping up, I just want to do a little summary of some of the points that we've talked about, because these are really great habits that we want to lift up. First of all, we talked about making sure we have time to connect with everyone that we serve, making that intentional time to walk around your buildings, do those pulse checks, checking in not only with all the adults, and when I say all, I mean all. We're talking about bus drivers, we're talking about cafeteria, secretaries, paras, teachers, staff, essays, everybody. And then, having that chance to talk with students as well. That's really important. And our community members. When we see our parents signing in, we may say, I'm so glad to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome back, right? And then we also talked about making sure that we have that opportunity to model the behaviors that we want to see. We want students to know it's important to eat lunch. We want our staff to know that. We want them to know it's okay to leave work on time. It is okay. There is no judgment with doing that, because you're going home to see your family and your friends and your other responsibilities. That's totally fine. And then finally, we talked about having a daily check-in at the end of the day and the end of the week. What's going well? What's something that needs to change? What's really grinding on us? And how can we try to find solutions for that? Dr. Huff, anything else that you want to share in that summary that I missed?
Nope, I think you hit all of it. And I think the biggest thing we have to do now is how do we schedule all of this so that it doesn't get overrun by other things, right? Like how can we make sure that these are intentional priorities in our calendar?
100%. Yes. And I think that's always going to be a work in progress. Like you said, it's never going to be a perfect situation, but I do think having an awareness is number one, because then we can make changes. Sometimes when we don't have an awareness, we're out to lunch. So I think just at least knowing that we need to address it is a starting point. I also want to remind you, if you have not picked up your copy of Relational Intelligence, you can get it on Amazon right now. It is a best-selling book, and we're really excited to continue to share this work with the world and with you and your wonderful schools. And finally, I would love to remind you to tune in for our next episode of Strong Start Sundays. That is going to be January 18th. And we have the amazing Dr. Salome Thomas L. He's going to be talking about student-centered leadership. This is his bread and butter. And I know it's going to be an amazing session with him in 2 weeks on the 18th at 7 p.m. EST. I want to thank Dr. Beth Huff for coming tonight. We really appreciate hearing all of your insights and all the amazing things that you're doing in your school community, and all of your blogging, your speaking engagement, just all the wonderful contributions that you continue to make in the field. So thank you again for being here tonight with us.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you to all the guests joining in, for all the love and encouragement as well. And best of luck wherever you're heading tomorrow, if you're heading back to work or if you're still on break. And don't hesitate to reach out. BethHuff.com. You can get all my contact information. I'm definitely, it's all about helping each other, because they're all our kids, right? They're all our kids. So we're all better together.
Yes, absolutely. And again, the habits really matter. What we do today makes a big difference for tomorrow. And our sustainability is number one. We cannot lead well if we're not here doing it. So we have to continue to work together to amplify this message and this work. And I want to thank Teacher Goals for this amazing platform, for this ability to connect with everyone twice a month for Strong Start Sundays. And I'm wishing you an amazing start to 2026, to the new year. A happy new year to you and your wonderful family and your friends. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in 2 more weeks. Have a wonderful Monday tomorrow, and I'll see you soon.
Bye everybody.